Okay, so what's up, YouTube? Another video, obviously, right? So welcome to class. So this video is gonna be about basic concepts that you should know about 4C hair as you are like learning about it on your healthy hair journey, trying to understand it, right? Because there's so much misinformation out there about this hair type specifically, and I'm probably gonna have photos of my hair like in a long stretch state and then in a coily state, so people who have never, people who don't have my TikTok and just are from YouTube can see what my hair looks like. Because if you have my TikTok, you know what my hair looks like because I post different variations of it. But anyway, so okay, so a little disclaimer before we really get into this. I am not like a biologist or a trichologist or anything like that, right? I am just simply someone who studies these things in my free time, like the science of hair and the body and stuff of that nature. And, I'm someone from my own experience of growing my hair out. I can kind of give you another insight so you're more well informed about 4C hair, so you can make better decisions, right? All right. So first thing I want to talk about is expansion over length. So a lot of people, the reason why when the natural hair movement was hijacked, one of the things, or even if it wasn't hijacked, one of the things that was the issue with 4C hair is that the measurement of length doing like this, right? So like if I, take down my hair and I pull it to see how long it's gotten, 4C hair typically will choose expansion over length, right? So that's why a lot of times when you're growing your hair out, sometimes you'll notice it may get thicker or denser, but it hasn't gotten long yet. That's because that's what 4C hair does, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a great sign. So a lot of times 4C hair will choose expansion over length. So a lot of times you cannot necessarily judge 4C hair strictly off length alone. It's obviously it's going to grow, so yes, length is good, but don't look for that to be the only measurement when it comes to 4C hair, because density and volume, it's almost like afro hair is budding and it goes through different stages. So density and volume also are important to look for when afro hair grows. And so I have a list right here, that's what I'm looking. So another thing that I need people to understand is that 4C hair has been heavily misused. Number one, it was a word that didn't exist at first, but now that people have took it and run with it, a lot of people are using 4C hair to be synonymous with dirty, dry, short, brittle, right? And that's not what 4C hair is. When 4C hair is neglected or not cared for, that is when those things come into play. 4C hair is not naturally like that. I think people forget that we live in a system that doesn't cater to this type of hair, right? My next point, which is that 4C hair is like the master of illusion. So you can't be discouraged when you think your hair isn't growing, because a lot of times it probably is. It's just that 4C hair is so coily. The best way, if you want to know, like, to make sure it's growing, is, like I said, look for density and volume, but also take different sections of your hair and measure them. Use a shirt or use a tape measure and measure it then, and then every few months you can then see from there. So another main thing that a lot of people in general, if you're non-black watching this, but a lot of black people specifically don't understand about 4C hair is that our follicle shape is shaped differently, okay? So that is why tension is a bigger no-no in our community. It's a bigger thing in our community because our follicle shape is different. Our follicle shape, I'll try to find a picture, but it's more elongated, right? So the hair comes out slanted. So there's some hair that's still under the scalp. It don't just come straight out, right? That's why tight, hairstyles and tight braids and tight ponytails, that's what causes this tension, this alopecia, because you're pulling on that pore, right? So, I mean, tension in general is not good for anybody, but we're more susceptible to it because of that fact that a lot of black people do not know. So keep that in mind. So another thing that I found funny, which I had to unlearn real quick, is that shrinkage will grow with you. So a lot of people, again, goes back to the master of illusion. A lot of people assume that as 4C hair gets longer, anytime you put it in a style, it's naturally going to just get longer too. And don't get me wrong, my braids are longer now than they've ever been, obviously in a shrunken state. But like, if I was to take my braid out right here and like let it shrink up, it would still go, like it would literally be all the way up here, right? Even though my hair comes all the way down here. So that is what I mean by shrinkage grows with you. Shrinkage will not magically disappear. It is a thing. No matter how long 4C hair gets, it will be a thing. So you must embrace that now. Like, you have to embrace that now. You have to have so much radical self-love when it comes to shrinkage. I don't mind shrinkage. I do not hate it. I don't despise it. That's what black hair does. But because society, this is a whole nother story. Yeah, you know, 2 + 2 is 4. So the last thing I will say to end this video off is that texture versus dryness, right? So a lot of people assume that Afro hair is naturally dry when sometimes it's just simply texture. So a lot of times Afro hair has a lot of ridges in it. So like, I'll try to find a clip, but before my braids were wet, they were a lot longer and they were more defined, right? They were more defined. Once I wet them, they shrunk. They're still in braids, but they shrunk, right? They shrunk as much as they can. But because they're still in braids, they're still stretched. So I'm feeling this texture because a lot of my coils have tried to come back, but not fully. They can't fully come back because, you know, they're locked. So a lot of times it's not dryness, it is your texture, okay? So you have to really play with your hair, get to know your hair, and discern whether your hair is dry or whether it's textured, right? And I'll try to make a video later on about how to help identify what's the difference, because honestly, I'm still even learning, but I'm getting the gist of it, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that's just some misconceptions and some basic principles that must be understood about this type of hair as you're growing your hair out. That way you're not feeling like, oh my god, this hair is so slow, or oh, this hair doesn't grow, or oh, this hair is so don't let texturism get to you.